Well, hello, everybody. It's Brother Todd with your Victory Minute. I hope you guys are having a good day today. I'm going to come to you from inside the office today because it's about the only quiet spot I can find around here between everybody working and the wind. The wind and the working has made it so loud I can't get anything done with this recording. So I thought I'd just come to you from inside here and tell you a little story today. I think it's a story that's important for where we are. And that story, what's brought it in my mind, it's a story of Nehemiah and the people that rebuilt the wall around Jerusalem. But what's brought it into my mind is how tired I am of this situation. I did pretty good with it up till about Sunday, and I not being at church on Sunday. I guess I'd had it in my head, Mother's Day for sure. We'd probably be back, and we weren't. And so I don't know. I just woke up about half aggravated about it, and it's kind of stayed on me all week. And so I've had to sit back and think, talk to the Lord about it. About all right, Lord, what's going on? And the story of Nehemiah, while they were trying to rebuild the wall around Jerusalem, kept coming into my mind, and it reminded me of some certain key principles. Now, some of you know the story of Nehemiah real well. Some of you just starting to read your Bible, and it's over in the Old Testament. It's right there at the end of the kind of the history section, and it talks about a time when the Jews, specifically the southern kingdom of Judah, had been carried into captivity because of their idol worshiping. God allowed them to be held captive 70 years in Babylon. But the Neo-Babylonian Empire that had overcome them was also then overcome by the Persians, and that's who the Jews were under the control of at that time. The Persians were really coming into the height of that great world empire. And it came to pass the way God worked things out. God raised up a man named Nehemiah and allowed him to go back into Jerusalem, and God struck his heart about the city and how the walls were all down. And you can go read the story for yourself. I won't tell it all to you, but don't have time for it. But while they were trying to build that wall, they were dealing with people that didn't want them to rebuild that wall. And they had enemies, and they had a situation. They had, besides all the hard work they had to deal with, they had to deal with this outside situation of being pushed on. And, it's just like us right now in the church. It's like you and your family. Those kinds of, the reality of this COVID-19 situation has added something on top of us to what we were already trying to get done. And it wasn't an easy thing. We was trying to get done anyway, whether it's raising a family or handling your work or running your business or seeing spiritual things done in the church and in our lives. All of those things are, seeing our communities changed, our schools and that kind of thing. We had all that going on. Now on top of it, we have this added adversary, and this adversary isn't going away. One of the things God taught me a long time ago was that the devil ain't going to hell till God sends him there. And we are made to overcome, and we're made for victory. And the only way we can overcome and have victory is for us to have an enemy. And so he ain't going anywhere. God taught me a long time ago, no matter how revived you get, Todd Peavy, I ain't sending the devil anywhere till I want him gone. And no matter how revived the church gets, community gets, country gets, I'll tell you what, those devil's group wake up next morning, go right back to work. And but again, he's made us more than conquerors. And the only thing greater than a conqueror is an overcomer. You said, Brother Todd, they sound like the same thing. Nah. Now, a conqueror is somebody who has won. An overcomer is somebody who is winning. And you say, well, that sounds the same. Well, it's not. Because when you won, it's done. But when you're winning, that's where the fun is. And, I've won some ball games. And it was fine when it was over. But that wasn't the fun part. The fun part was the playing in it. The fun part was the winning. It was in the thrill of the moment. And that's where God walks us, is in the moment. And so anyway, I didn't mean to run off down on that, but that's what Nehemiah and them were dealing with. This is kind of in a lot of ways what we're dealing with. And I can tell right now, one of the first things that Nehemiah did is something that I think I probably need to do and we need to think about. And that is Nehemiah took the people, and they're about halfway through the project, and he got them together, and he encouraged them, and he reminded them. He reminded them really about why they were doing what they were doing. We've been dealing with this COVID-19 thing for a while, and those of us that are part here at Victory, our church has done really well, thank God. But I can feel right now there's a stretching. Because we can't be together. Normal is all messed up, and we've got into a track of I can tell some of y'all kind of drifting about a little bit. You say, what do you mean drifting? I mean, that when they come in here and tell me on Monday morning that or like yesterday morning rather, that our people watching the videos, okay, on Sundays was down a little bit, but they were up on Monday and Tuesday. So that tells me some of y'all are getting your church service in on Monday, some of you getting in on Tuesday, and it was the sermon. So they got ways, however, tracking it. Anyway, I knew then, I thought, well, okay, we kind of getting a little slack. Make sure you set apart that time for worship on either Saturday night or Sunday, how it is you normally worship in the weekend services. You know, God's economy runs evening by evening. We run morning by morning, but God's economy runs evening by evening. And that first day of the week starts sundown on Saturday. And I'm going to tell you what, God has blessed that first day of the week ever since Jesus rose from the grave on it. And make sure you're getting your family together when you have your worship. There's a whole lot of y'all, and I'm talking to Victory people right now. You watching worship service at 11 o'clock at night, and that tells me your kids ain't watching it. And so you got to get in there. You say, Brother Todd, you're getting on to me now. Just trying to encourage you. I want to tighten you up a little bit. You know, we all need tightening up a little bit. I don't care how good a horse is. Every now and then you got to pick the reins up. And so, but that's one thing Nehemiah did, is he reminded them. Sometimes in leadership they call it the Nehemiah principle. About every 30 days you got to remind everybody of where we're going, what we're trying to do. And y'all got enough spiritual discipline in you to hear what I'm saying. Let's make sure we're still about doing what we're doing, even though we're dealing with these adversaries. And that brings the second thing old Nehemiah did, was when the enemies came against them, they thought, man, they had weapons there for a while, and they thought they was going to fight them off. And what Nehemiah did was he got half the people to have a shovel in their hand, the other half had a sword in their hand, so to speak. And that's how they built the wall. One guy on watch, one guy working. And what the principle is there is that he stayed on task. Let me tell you a little old something about the old devil and his tricks. Distraction is one of his favorite devices. In fact, if the devil and his group can distract you long enough, you'll live your life in mediocrity and die. And if you're saved, you go to heaven. If you're lost, you go to hell. And that'll be the end of you. And there won't. But your time will be done. Most Christians are living mediocre lives, and I think that's probably an understatement. We're not living lives. I've wasted too many of my own days being distracted about things that don't matter. If you think about it, old Nehemiah didn't let the distractions keep them off task. Okay, this COVID-19 thing is a distracting situation, but our main focus is eternal things. Listen, you had eternal things going on in that family. You're raising eternal beings in there with those kids, and helping with those grandkids and those kinds of things. And while maybe normal was going on, and you were able to make sure they're getting they're learning their school lessons, they're learning their Bible lessons, they're growing in these principles. You're speaking eternal things into their life and that kind of thing. And when normal gets broke, we have a tendency to get real stretched out. Okay. And we kind of lose discipline. We can lose direction. And when you lose discipline and direction, you'll get off task. And if it's true with anything, if I can distract you long enough, I'll keep you from getting done what you need to get done. When I grew up in those shop, we didn't do a whole lot of visiting around while we were working. When somebody'd come in, it wasn't a place for our friends to gather. My granddaddy believed in running a shop. And so, because if you get distracted, you either can't get something done or you'll mess up. I've learned, I'm so old now, my memory doing what it does. If somebody walks in when I'm working on something, I just lay it down, because I sure as the world I'll mess something up. You can't get distracted. And if you think about it, that's what old Nehemiah kept the people from doing by, we got enemies and we'll deal with them, but they stayed on task. If your ministry involved teens, children, senior citizens, the lost, whatever in the church, maybe your ministry hadn't ended just because we can't meet on Sundays. We still have to be about those things. You may have to be creative. You may have to do it. My primary duty in this church is to spread, share, and study the Word of God, and to pray, to be in touch with God, and to be in His Word, and then communicate that Word to you. That's what the apostles told the church. We're going to stay in prayer and in the Word, in the ministry of the Word. Well, these things right here are just an opportunity for me to try to keep getting the word into your life and into people that might not know Jesus' life right now. Frankly, in our case, the COVID-19 has created us an opportunity that we never had before. Now we got to stay on task. We got to stay after our main things, but it can get done. Sometimes a challenge is nothing but an opportunity. Okay. Sometimes an enemy is just an opportunity in a disguise. And then thirdly, if you think about it, when they set the people up there, where one guy's working and another guy's behind him with a weapon, that guy that was working was able to focus on what he was doing. Okay, and that tells me that they relied on each other. It tells me they trusted each other. Okay, I love to alliterate stuff when I preach. It helps me to remember. But if you look at what Nehemiah did, I wrote it right here, is that he kept them on track by reminding them. They stayed on task by not allowing distractions to own them, okay? And what was the last thing I put? Oh, yeah, trust. I knew it was 3 T's. Anyway, I say it helps my memory, and then I had to look at what I was writing, what I wrote down. But then they trusted each other, and they depended on each other. I'm going to tell you about God's work. I'm going to tell you about kingdom work. I'll tell you about country work, our own country, our community work, family work. It's all too big for one of us. Our pride says we can do it. It's been times when I was younger, I thought, man, I ain't getting politics. I need to get in politics. I want to make a difference. I'll do this, and I can do this, and we can. And it was a lot of I's and not a whole lot of we's. And the Lord reminded me, oh boy, you too dumb. You don't speak well enough. And 3, that ain't what my will is for you. But it's not an I. It's like in the church. It's not a one-man show. You got some churches like that where you just got celebrity and you keep telling people what they want to hear and they call you popular. And it's kind of like a dancing chicken. If you get up there and dance around, they might throw you some feed, but that's really at the end of the day about all you are. We need each other, and while we all have an individual work to do, you need each other. We all got our part to pull, but we have to work together. That means we have to trust each other. And it means you're going to trust those in your family. It means you're going to trust those in your community. It means you're going to trust those in your church, trust those in your life group and your ministry groups. When we work together, we function as a body. And a body can get a lot done. God's blessed my hand to be able to get a lot done. But if it goes off on its own, doesn't do what my body wants or needs it to do, then it's incapable. And nothing great's ever going to happen out of it. So think about those things today and remember just where we're at. We're trying to get great things done in difficult times. And all we've had is another difficulty added on to it. But that's okay because God's bigger than it. And he will give us the means. Just stay on track, stay on task, and trust each other. You say, Brother Todd, how do I do that? They will find somebody to depend on. Give somebody something to do. If you're teaching the kids, I'm telling you, one of the greatest things you'll ever teach little kids that you trust them. Give them something that you know that they can do, and help them and encourage it and stay on top of it and celebrate it when they get it done. And they'll not only learn that they can get a task done, which is the most satisfying end of work, because he kept them on task, but at the same time that you trust them. And so mamas, daddies, grandpas, grandmas, Sunday school teachers, life group teachers, get your people together and remind them of what we're trying to get done. Use that old Nehemiah principle. Now, I'm gonna end this by saying this. Those of you who are starting off in life, those of you who are, God is going to use you as a leader of some kind, whether it's in the church, whether it's in community, whether it's in business or whatever. The book of Nehemiah is a book you really need to know. You'll learn more about leadership in the book of Nehemiah as you will any self-help book on some shelf somewhere about leading. He did a great job. Well, I got to go. I've talked too long. I love you guys and hope you have a great day. Can't wait to see you. Bye-bye.